Welcome in, everybody, to the Sports Blitz Pittsburgh first episode ever. I am Riggs Tamburo, my co-host, Mr. Rudy Reyes. Hope everybody is having a beautiful week so far. What we're going to do on this podcast is bring you guys all things Pittsburgh sports. It could be across all different sports, collegiate level, professional level, and the list goes on. You guys already know no NBA in Pittsburgh, but who knows, Rudy? Maybe it's only a matter of time, my brother. And we'll be talking some NBA.
I've been talking about that for a minute. I've been pulling that up right out of the rabbit chat. Hopefully something's going to come out of it a lot later.
Oh, man, I would love it if we could get some NBA out here. What a good location for it. Like the stadium, it's PPG. It's right there. Let's just put some wood on the floor and let's call it a day. But hey, I guess it is what it is. But you know what? With all that said, guys, at Sports Blitz Pit, P-I-T, you can find us there on Instagram and Twitter. And for all of you listening, whether you're on Spotify or YouTube, either way, folks, if you just want to listen at The Sports Forum on Spotify, if you want to watch and listen at The Sports Forum on YouTube, click that subscribe button. Never miss an episode. But let's get down to the nitty-gritty, my brother. About 30-minute episodes here for the people, and we are jumping straight in to the hottest team in Pittsburgh. That is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Justin Fields right now. Some people are calling for this guy to be the quarterback. They want him. You see the one on the jersey. Make him the QB1. That's what people are saying. But, Rudy, I got to be honest, man. I think the counter to that argument is, look, everybody says Justin Fields had this great record. He also had the easiest games of all the quarterbacks. He also had a full roster when he was the starting quarterback. Are you a firm believer that Justin Fields is a good option moving forward? Or do you think when Mike Tomlin made that move for Russell, he made it for a reason?
The initial move, and again, I can't help but feel as though Justin Fields was designed to be the starting quarterback. And we've seen that actually happen. So it's not a big mystery to even think about how, maybe Justin Fields and Russell Wilson will battle out in training camp. But of course, they did just that. People said, well, Russell Wilson's the heir apparent starter. What, he was injured on day one, before day one even rolled out. So here comes Justin Fields. But what he has done is be able to navigate the team down into the red zone on multiple occasions, but not a lot of payoff in regards to touchdown ratio to completion. And when this all came about, they acquired Wilson for pennies on the dollar. They got Justin Fields for next to nothing from Chicago. And it's almost as if a brand new start for both of these guys. Don't forget, Russell Wilson was at the Denver Broncos facility playing underneath Sean Payton. And I can't help but wonder what those conversations were like on the sideline, knowing that their team was losing and did not have a great season under Russell Wilson and with the first-year head coach in Sean Payton. But when you talk about Justin Fields, let's roll back this onion a couple layers at a time, because it was in March of 2024, and the Steelers were trying to figure out who's going to be their starter before the draft, and they said, you know what, we're good. We don't need to draft a quarterback, because they had made that mistake, years earlier with acquiring, said Kenny Pickett. And the problem that I have with that is that Kenny Pickett was not designed to be for the Steelers. Yeah, they were right next door and they shared, the facilities, and they played on the same field. And, there was a lot of similarities. But when it was all said and done, I don't believe that not only was Kenny Pickett not the right fit, ended up winning a Super Bowl ring as a backup quarterback to Jalen Hurts for the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't want to call them crosstown rivalry. I would say it's more of a cross-state rivalry. And of course, most don't know this, but the Steelers and the Eagles share one common thread. They were known as the Steagles, and could have one kind of, maybe rubbed off on the other one eventually. I mean, the Eagles still only have 2 championships under their belt, and the Steelers still have 6. So perhaps that commonality and that thread is pre-existing. Will the Eagles go back-to-back? Well, that's another football season, and we're not quite there yet. Still have to go through a combine, still have to go to the draft, and still have to go through preseason games, minimized to 2 instead of 3. So is Fields that guy? I don't know. Is Wilson that guy? I would probably say more no than yes, at least at this point.
Do you believe, because this is one thing I've seen people argue, and I kind of brought it up when I started this whole thing, but Justin's early schedule, the early wins, the man, Justin's rolling. Why would they take him out, et cetera, et cetera? Look what Russell did at the end of the year. He cost him the season. He choked at the end, all these different narratives. Here's my thing, though. First of all, they had the hardest second half schedule of any team in the NFL. If you don't believe it, go look at it again, and you're going to be like, damn. Go look at the gap in between the game days. 3 games in 11 days, 2 on the road against 2 powerhouses, one of which won the Super Bowl. So my question for you, if that was Justin Fields, do you think the end of the year looked different? Because as much as I love Justin Fields, I don't believe it would have changed.
I don't think that even with the change, Justin Fields would have done any more than what he had done during the beginning of the season. Why? Because now the quarterback carousel, which adds to the conundrum of who do you start? Who gives you a better chance to win? A guy who has been there, done that in Russell Wilson, who won one with the Seattle Seahawks, or do you give it to Justin Fields, a new up-and-comer coming over to make a brand fresh, brand new start for a team that Mike Tomlin has stated from time to time that he would have liked to have drafted Justin. Could bad habits have been prevented by Justin Fields during his time in Chicago? Maybe, but I don't think it would have changed the outcome at all, at least not from my vantage point.
Right there with you. So the question, guys, who should the Pittsburgh Steelers target to be their QB1 in 2025? We've seen names like Sam Darnold be thrown out. We've seen names like Matt Stafford, but that rumor kind of got shut down. Aaron Rodgers is the favorite to be the next quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's all these more veteran, older guys. I see you shaking your head there, and I love that you're shaking your head because I kind of agree with you. But here's the one thing I'm going to say about Aaron Rodgers, and this is weird coming from a guy like me who is hard as hell on Mr. Aaron Rodgers and was last year again. If we're just talking about a passer, if we're not worried about getting out of the pocket, which there was moments last year we were like, okay, there you go, Arthur Smith opening up the game a little bit, letting the quarterbacks run. But at the end of the day, I think they kind of want a guy to stand back there who has a veteran presence like Russell Wilson, who they thought was going to do that, and actually start targeting guys like George Pickens and guys that they're trying to hang on to, that they don't want to get frustrated. Great tight end in Pat Freiermuth. Could pick up another wide receiver here before the season begins. Do you believe of the veterans, Aaron Rodgers is the best option?
Aaron Rodgers is not the best option. And for one specific reason whatsoever. You could put his season up against anybody's who came back from an ACL, and you could think to yourself, wow, could he have done something greater, bigger, more often, frequently? Don't forget, the year before that, he was out after 4 snaps. Towards ACL, He was out for the entire season. Then he's coming in for a guy in Zach. There was just so many things that the Jets really held their hats on, and they held them high with Aaron Rodgers starting under center. Now, with that, to Rodgers' credit, and I'm going to start here. To Rodgers' credit, he started in all 17 games this season. He totaled almost 4,000 yards. He's 1 start shy of tying Ben Roethlisberger. He had 11 interceptions, but he did receive 40 sacks only because that offensive line was so porous and horrible for him, and a 63% completion ratio. So it was good. The problem is that you find the Jets as a team 24th overall in points and yards. So it didn't nothing really stood out to me, except for maybe the last few games of the season where you've seen Aaron Rodgers just commit to just destroying teams, and he did. The problem I have with Aaron Rodgers is not his ability to throw the ball. It has nothing to do with his ability to maybe scramble for a couple of yards outside the pocket. The guy is a head case, and you don't want head cases with an organization who's trying to take their head out of the sand. Now, if anybody had seen these rankings or not for the Steelers as far as ownership and what their locker room and the facilities look like, they ranked pretty low, like obscenely low. And I tweeted that out, and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, are you serious? Is ownership willing to do everything it possibly takes to put this team in position to win? I don't know that for certain. And what makes this thing so uncertain for me is that Aaron Rodgers, because he's such a head case, doesn't make sense for a Steelers organization who's looking to right the ship. But again, we talked about the credit's given where credit's due. But right now, in the situation where the Steelers are dealing with quarterback carousel that they need to unplug out of the trailer that is plugged into and stop this carousel, it's to draft a quarterback. And the problem with that is that those quarterbacks are already gone. By the time the Steelers get to those guys, they'll be long gone. There are some B-list guys. Jackson, Dart has a good case for him. Dylan Gabriel is a good case for the Steelers
I've
as well.
seen people throwing the Quinn Ewers name in there with the Jackson Dart a little bit.
I like the Dylan Gabriel fit. I think he fits well. He's fast from snap to throw. His accuracy, he's tough. He's gritty. It says blue collar all over him. I mean, yeah, he's from Hawaii, but how different is it playing in Hawaii against Samoans or Hawaiians versus guys that you play with in the across the line of scrimmage against AA?
Yeah.
I mean, the 300 plus pounders. How close
Here's my thing, though. Here's my only thing. You're talking about Aaron Rodgers. If anything, he's a one-year fix again, right? He's not signing a 3-year deal. He's not going to be balling in 2 years from now. He's not going to be a Brady and go on a Super Bowl run in his last, when he's 40. It's just not going to happen with Aaron Rodgers. Do I think he can come in right now and play decent football? I actually do. I think he could make George Pickens happy. We saw George Pickens in an interview a few days ago come out and be like, they said, who's your dream quarterback? He said, Aaron Rodgers is the dream quarterback that I want to have on my team. So that's very interesting to me. Now, the reason I like Justin Fields is because it's kind of the best of both worlds. You're talking about the rookie option, and I do agree that the rookie option is a better option probably than the Aaron Rodgers route. But why not go with the guy in the middle that's at his peak right now in Justin Fields? He got the jitters out. He's getting used to Mike Tomlin in the system. We saw him run pretty well last year. We saw him go through ups and downs a little bit. I think he learned a lot. He's probably comfortable on the team, especially if Russell's gone. It's kind of his team now. And we don't have to go with this rookie. You mentioned it. We're not going to get a Cam Ward. We're not going to get a Shador Sanders. You're going to get a Jackson Dart, Dylan Gabriel, Quinn Ewers. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not that high on any of those guys. Bryson Owens, one of our analysts at the Denver Crew, he's very high on Jackson Dart, and I can understand why a little bit here and there, but I've been very wishy-washy on Jackson Dart throughout the year. I hear you on Dylan Gabriel, and I see the positives that you're talking about, but would I rather have Dylan Gabriel under center week 1 or Justin Fields? Personally, I want Justin Fields. I'm a believer. Chicago broke that dude, and I think Tomlin is slowly working his way back to getting those mechanics back.
Quite possibly, but think about this. Red zone percentage completion from Justin Fields was low, like super low. Okay, fine. 1 year, okay, he's not a rookie anymore, so let's put that in the rearview mirror. The fact alone that he's had enough snaps as the Bears QB with obviously a dumpster fire head coach in Eberflus, who is no longer there, and now the next regime comes in. Chicago's a rinse and repeat team. They get guys in there, they don't work out for a year, they're gone. I mean, they may as well sign one-year wonders to every single roster spot that they have, because that's the only thing they're going to get, because they're only going to last a year there in that system. However, with the Steelers, Justin Fields was able to get Chris Boswell to kick how many field goals in one game just to win it? I don't know that. I don't like that. I don't like the ability for him to get them to the field, but not get to the promised land and get inside the end zone. Yes, completion ratio is great, but what's completion ratio compared to touchdowns and winning games? I mean, let's just call it what it is. Could Dylan Gabriel be the guy on day one with the physicality and accuracy and the high football IQ to know what it is to scramble outside the pocket? We've seen him do it at Oregon. I mean, he had almost 4,000 yards at Oregon. He had 30 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and his QBR was almost 90. So that tells me, and I've watched him because he's here on the West Coast playing for Oregon, and I've seen a lot of Oregon football this year. The guy is just gritty. He's out of the pocket smart, and he makes great decisions. How can you not like a guy? And okay, fine. So he may not be a day one starter, but you know what? Let Camp figure that out, right? For starters. Secondly, if it doesn't work out, at least he can get the tutelage that he needs. Yeah, that's a real word. Look it up in the dictionary. It's a tutelage that he's going to need that's going to make him a very solid starter in the NFL. And you know what? For some reason, it doesn't work with the Steelers. He can go somewhere else and make some more money. Why? Because the cap raises. He becomes a veteran after 3 years. He'll be able to get his, vet mill at 1.5, now bumped up to 2 mil. What vet doesn't want that, right? But Dillon Gabriel just brings a lot to this team. He's 6 foot tall. He's a 200-pounder. He can handle the hits. He can, he can take it, and he could probably dish it on the run to gain a first down. So, Jackson Dart is another great possibility. I like his moxie. I like what he brings, his mentality, his attitude. But the problem I have with him is that he's turnover prone. He's a liability from throwing the ball past 20 yards to guys that are wondering, why did you throw it to him? He's not the receiver. He's a guy designed to intercept the ball, because I'm the guy who's supposed to take the ball to the house. So a lot of questions. I mean, you can look at Jalen Milroe too, right? Big dude, top heavy, can run sort of, and he has great accuracy.
Jalen Hurts attributes in him there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You need a scrambling quarterback, but you need an offensive line. The Steelers have continued to carousel, whether it's Dan Moore on the opposite side, he can be gone in free agency, unless they find a reason to re-sign him, which I don't know why you would. But then again, I don't know why you wouldn't. Guards don't grow on trees. Teaching them a new stance, teaching them opposite sides. You need duality on this line, meaning that a guy needs to play tackle and he needs to be able to play guard if the need is warranted. I don't know that Dan Moore can do that. He struggled at times in press. I just don't know that he's that guy. So you have to look at two different things. Do you get a guard? Do you get a tackle? And if so, who's your quarterback? Because he needs that protection, especially on the blind side. And Dan Moore just doesn't.
I know we got to wrap this combo here, but I do want to ask you one final thing here with Justin. If you go for a Jackson Dart, a Dillon Gabriel, and I'm with you, I get the argument here. I like it better than Russell. I like it better than Rodgers. I do still think that they should keep considering Justin, but we don't see the inside practices. We don't exactly know what these conversations are and if they believe he can pass the football properly. But I'm assuming with all this, you're saying let Justin go. You're not saying make Justin the starter and draft a rookie, are you?
No. What I'm saying is you keep Justin on the sidelines. You give him another vet min, give him incentives.
People are saying that he wants to get paid. He wants his 3-4 year deal, 35, 40 million a year.
Not happening. It's not going to happen.
So if that's what he wants, though, are you okay to let him go and go all in on this rookie, kind of like they did with Kenny Pickett?
You're going to have to do something, and something fast if you're a Steelers organization that has done nothing but chasing your tail with quarterbacks since before Kenny Pickett, even before Ben Watson. So if you have a guy like Charlie Batch backing up a Ben Roethlisberger or Dillon Gabriel backing up Justin Fields, why not? I think it's a win. I think it's a win for everybody.
If you saw, because we're at what, 21? Steelers pick at 21. Is there any world that you would move up for any of the guys that you're mentioning? Or do you think 21, take what you can get? There's a couple guys there that are worth an option, not worth moving forward.
I would probably look at the best player available, the best option available, especially at 21. If guys like Jackson Dart is gone, Jalen Milroe's gone, and I think Jalen Milroe will slip. I think Dillon Gabriel may slip. Not as bad as Jalen Milroe, but I think he'll still slip. Maybe ladder first. I see this as possibly taking a chance and moving up depending on who's available. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, guys, we will see a lot more conversations on the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback situation to come. Obviously, if any big news drops with Aaron Rodgers and Sam Darnold and all that, we'll keep you guys updated. Rudy, I think we're going to have to go live, brother. If we hear Sam Darnold, 4 years, $160 million to the Pittsburgh Steelers, I might fall out my chair. So
I'm going to fall out of my chair, but I'm probably going to thank the football gods for that move. I think that's like a sleeping horse. I really do.
Oh Lord, I don't know. I can't do this right now. But Pittsburgh Steelers, we'll get back to you guys next week. But for now, I do want to move over and talk about what's going on with these Pittsburgh Pirates. You see the men on the screen if you're just listening. We got Paul Skeens up on the screen right now. Pittsburgh Pirates pitching rotation projection. Obviously, I know you just wrote an article on this, sportsforummedia.com. We will pull that one up here in just a minute. But as of right now, 5-6 names that are going through this cycle right now. I think Paul Skeens is the clear number one. If he's not the number one, then he's going to get his ass out of Pittsburgh. So he is the ace right now for them. Let's just start with Paul Skeens. How you feeling about Skeens? Do you think it was a hype train last year? Is he the real deal? Is this guy going to be a Cy Young candidate once again?
Absolutely. And I think 11 games won versus 3 that were lost, that were started by Paul Skeens, is a lot to hang your hat on. With a guy who has one of the lowest ERAs at 1.96, the guy has multiple weapons in his arsenal to get that ball down the line where you need to, whether it's a fast, two-seam ball or, maybe a curve on the inside. The guy is just an absolute beast. I mean, he's from Louisiana State. He has a great whip at 0.95. The guy knows how to throw. He knows when to throw it. And he's played a lot of teams since his rookie year. And I can assure you that this is not a one-hit wonder, or I should say a one-hitless wonder through all these games that Paul Skeens is going to find himself in throughout the regular season. So things are heating up in Bradenton. I like the respective order, at least what's currently being considered right now, as Mitch Keller is around, the right-hand pitcher in number 2. Yep. He had a good season. I mean, he won 13 games. He had 9 losses. ERA is not the best. And I think he's borderline liability for me. I mean, borderline only because of the ERA, not to say he's not a good pitcher, but the fact alone that he just hasn't been consistent enough. I think the Pirates need to emphasize more with him in a one-on-one situation where, this is what needs to happen. This is where you're at. This is how you can get better. This is where we see you at right now. The other guy, as a part of this order, I liked him last year. And you guys can probably see the article up there now, and you'll find that on
sportsforummedia.com for you. Yep.
And what you're really looking at is the fact alone that Mitch Keller is a guy that's borderline liability. His whip is not the best. It's 1.25. He's one of those guys where I consider borderline in liability as far as the current rotation is concerned. But then you look at Jared Jones, who had a really good season in 24. Not the greatest, but almost border. I'd say more of a liability. But I think he's on the fence for me, honestly, because of his ERA at 4.14. His whip is better. I think I would take him in 2 versus 3 as far as the starting rotation is concerned. Why? Because he could probably do more damage in your, 6th to maybe 7th inning than you get a guy like Mitch Keller to take that 3rd spot and see what he gives you, right? Whether and it will obviously determine on whether or not you have the lead or you're behind, right? You want the guy with the biggest strikeout possibility. Could Skeens see extra innings? Maybe. He's good for it. He's done it, and he's done it well, I must say, last year. So there's a lot of things that I like about Paul Skeens. But then you look at a left-hander in Bailey Falter from Chino Hills, California. And the guy was very, very good. He had 3 Ks in his first outing. His whip's okay. His ERA, he's getting there. He's completely new to this. But I think that with time, he's 6'4", 205, very athletic. I like his fastball. I like his pitching motion. I like how he kind of, he does that quick turnaround, base to base to base to verify who's around. He's baseball aware, right? You have to be aware of the infield and those guys that are on, especially you have the runners in scoring position on 2nd and 3rd. He can pick you up. He's got a fastball. He knows where to throw it and when to throw it. But then when you look at, and he could be that 4th, I think that's pretty solid. But then you look at Johan Oviedo, he's kind of a liability to me. And I say that because he's just not very consistent. And when you're a liability, you don't see a lot of playing time, and I just don't see him getting a lot of playing time. But then you look at guys who maybe Bubba Chandler, Mike Burrows, maybe Braxton, Ashcraft, who I like, and then Thomas Harrington. I don't think they have enough left-hand pitchers on there outside of a Bailey Falter, to be honest with you. But someone's going to have to step up behind Skeens in a very, very big way. That's why I like Jared Jones in the second spot, not the third, where Mitch Keller is actually at right now. Now, on the other day, Pirates had lost 2-1 against the Braves, and I think that it's offense was not a premium for the Bucks at all. I mean, it just was not. It was not there. It was non-existent. But I think they wanted to see exactly what was going on. And again, because this is all experimental, they're not going to hold their feet to the fire. So you know what? This is the one, this is the two, this is the three, and this is what we're going to do. No, this is about getting these guys acclimated in the Grapefruit League at Pirate City, getting them familiar and becoming familiar with not only their teammates, but to the environment and what they expect to play in at PNC. So this is going to be good. Maybe throwing 100 miles an hour unnecessarily, breaking bats, that doesn't really impress me. What impresses me is his consistency. That's what I want to see. And if you're not consistent on the mound, you're as good as gone. And they'll pull you in a heartbeat. Any skipper would. You'd be dumb not to.
You nailed that with Oviedo. And I think that the ceiling for Oviedo is high. I think he can be very good. But like you mentioned, the problem is he also could get blown up for 4 or 5 runs in the first inning, and that's game, set, match with a baseball team like the Pittsburgh Pirates. So I agree with you. I don't really see that in the 1, 2, 3, even 4 positions. I don't really see that guy who's going to just go out there and we're going to be like, oh, say a prayer for the Nerfy. If you know, you know what I mean? So with that said, I do agree with you. And I know that it was mentioned here in the article about the number 2 and number 3 spot, because as you see here, Mitch Keller and Jared Jones listed as the current number 3, but like you mentioned, carries the better whip, carries the better ERA. I'm not really sure why they have that little switch there. Maybe it's the left-handed thing, like you mentioned. Maybe they want a little bit of like a quick switch there from left to right, and then they want to go right back to it. Or maybe it's that. I don't really know, but I do agree with you. I think it should be Skeens followed by Jones. And I will say, I do like Keller. Like I don't not like Keller. You know what I'm saying? I think you kind of agree with me there. It's just that Jared Jones is a little bit of a slept-on pitcher right now who has the ability to be a very clear number 2. So we'll keep an eye on that. Oviedo, like it says here, coming off that Tommy John. So if he wasn't a liability before, now he's really about to be a liability. And I also agree with you. Maybe got to go get another left-hand arm here that really is going to come in here and switch this order up and give them some options, especially coming out the bullpen, because right now, I think we can both agree, Jared Jones, Mitch Keller, Paul Skeens, these guys are going to do their piece for 5, 6 innings. Do you trust the bullpen as it sits right now?
If they were to name it, no, I'm not comfortable with it, because, again, you have to look at the body of work from Paul Skeens from 1st through 5. Look at Jared 1 through 5. Play these guys extra if you need to. I don't mean throw their arm out and all of a sudden they're injured the entire season with inflamed shoulders or a hurt elbow or forearm or maybe hit by pitch or something like that. But you have to test the moxie of who these guys are. Now, for those that don't even know this, the Pirates have one of the lowest caps within Major League Baseball. There isn't a cap per se, but they have the lowest budget available to them. So they're going to get what they can get. They signed Tommy Pham to a 1-year deal, which is a good thing. He's not the greatest of players, but he's certainly serviceable, and he showed that last year. So I'm not quite comfortable with it. I would rather be more comfortable knowing that they were all able to get their fair share on the mound and to be as good as they could possibly be. But only time will tell what that looks like, and if they can get out of Florida and get into the regular season in the first spring training, the first spring game of the new baseball season that's less than 2 weeks away, 3 weeks or minus. I'd like to see where and how this is going to be finalized, and take a look at those other guys like Bubba Chandler, and just realize what you have first. Don't trade off guys when you don't know what they're capable of doing, and that's to Pirates management. P.S. to you.
I'm right there with you. And guys, once again, that article for you on sports4media.com, written by our very own Rudy Reyes. It's his first one, guys. Go show some love. Go give it a read. Check it out. Once again, Instagram and Twitter will have it up on there as well. But you guys can just go directly there. That link is on the bottom of the screen for you. But with all that said, we got one more team to talk about, my man. And folks, we do have a sports bet for you coming to end the show up with the Pittsburgh Penguins. That game going down later today. But first, we got to talk about the standings, Rudy, because the standings not looking too hot right now for those Pittsburgh Penguins.
It's not good for the Penguins at all whatsoever. They're eighth in the Metro. Eighth in the Metro. They're
It doesn't get any lower.
It's ugly, folks. It's absolutely ugly. Look, they have no hopes at this point, and only Obi-Wan Kenobi, who does not exist, can help this team get to where they need to go to. So they can find themselves in a more competitive situation if the season, as the season continues. But the playoffs, I just don't see it. I just don't. They continue to lose games despite winning, one game in a row. Then they lose the next two. Then they win one. Then they lose the next one. Then they win two. This is a carousel of a team at 4-5 in the Metro right now, with only 57 points to kind of hang their hat on, which would probably fall off the wall if it was done with Velcro. And look, the Pens can make a playoff push. Don't get me wrong. I'm not counting them out completely. I'm just saying that the likelihood of them being able to get into postseason based on just their own numbers and their own credibility is not going to be enough. There are other teams that you would have to jockey up against in order to, help yourself. Could have helped yourself by winning the games you should have won and not lost the games you should have won, but now reliant on other teams. And we see this more often than not, especially in the NFL, in wildcard situations. We find that in the NHL with those types of same conversations. So Sidney Crosby, team leader, obviously won it for Team Canada during the Four Nations tournament, which I absolutely loved. Did I say love? I loved that. They need to do it again every single year. It's better than the All-Star game.
Please. It's way better. It's way better.
You had Ricard Raquel with 25 goals, 43 assists for Crosby, of course, 48 for penalty minutes for bunting, and the plus minus, Bokandi Amani had 1. Look, these numbers don't fly off the page for me, okay? They just don't. Now, there's only one injured guy on this list, and that's Bunting. The problem I have with this is that they're not getting enough people involved. Brian Rust with 42 points, Carlson with 43. Right now, it's kind of a feast or famine for the Penguins. What do they do? How do they stop the Bruins tomorrow? But more importantly, can they take advantage of the ice and possession of the puck on the ice they need to get down to continually hit those shots on goal? If you don't have shots on goal, the likelihood of you actually winning a game are relatively, nil or next to nothing, because you have to get those. Those are whether it's a dinger off the right side, whether the puck goes a little bit higher or is off the goalie's mask or whatever the case might be. Look, they have to be a lot more formulated when you're talking about being on the Bruins side of the ice tomorrow. They need to do it consistently. They need to own the line, especially when that puck is dropped, get out of their zone, be more creative offensively. And what's interesting enough to me, and I see that I watched this yesterday in the NBA where guys aren't sure of the ball they have in their hands. Well, the Penguins have to be sure of the pucks they have right next to their sticks, because if they're not aware of them, the puck's just going to get away, just like the ball gets away from would-be scorers, right? So, and when we've seen this, when the USA took on Canada in the championship, where the USA had perfect, they were perfectly set to go in and strike to win. But I think more importantly, it was on the Canadian side. It was in their favor to get that puck in the net. And what happens? They shot it in the net, and Canada won the first Four Nations Cup, or whatever you want to call cup. Maybe there was a cup. I know everybody else on the ice is wearing a cup, but not the cup you're thinking of. So, I mean, I don't care for the Penguins to make the playoffs this year. If they do, great. But there are too many better teams as a part of the Metro and overall that are just much better than they are. I mean, the Islanders are even better. You look at the Rangers. They're that much better. The Capitals are holding their own. Are you joking? 13 losses.
Look at the goal differential. The goal differential is what really stands out to me. They're minus 48 on the year. The only team even remotely close to them is the Flyers at minus 23, who they're coming off that 5-4 overtime win at home. It's their one win. Like you mentioned, they win, they lose, they lose, they lose, they win, they lose. As you can tell by their record, they're 4-5-1 over their last 10. One-game win streak, and it came in a 5-4 comeback in overtime kind of game here. And now you get the Boston Bruins. Best of luck to you. Like, I agree with you. They don't deserve to be in the playoffs unless they go on the greatest run of any team in the NHL to finish this thing off. How are they going to get there? I don't see it. And now, like you mentioned, as bad as they're playing, 24, 28, and 9, if you look at it, are they that far from the Blue Jackets and the Rangers? No. You know what I mean? No. They could go on a 5-game win streak and all of a sudden we're like, hold on a second. So, but does it feel like they're going to make it? No. Should you bet it right now that they're going to make the playoffs? I would probably say no. And like Rudy just mentioned, take a look at a few of these guys' names right now and the stats these guys are putting up. Sidney Crosby, obviously carrying the team with 61 points, 18 goals on the year, 43 assists. Really, he's not even the goal scorer for him. He's third on the goal scoring list. You got Ricard Raquel, like you mentioned, with 25 goals. You got Brian Rust with 20 goals. You got Carlson only attacking on 8 goals from defense, but 35 assists. Like, these guys are able to get it done, but they don't put it all together. Sometimes the goaltending just, whoop, we saw in the second period the other day, just goes out the window. They stop back checking. You talked about have the puck on your stick, maybe try to know where you're at on the ice. The breakaways are ridiculous when I'm watching this hockey team. So there's just so many more issues than there are things we can go, man, they're so good at this and they're so good at that. And they're not really. So I'm right there with you. But that brings me to the final thing here before we get up out of here and finish up episode number 1. Boston Bruins coming to town Saturday night, action-packed, PPG Arena, folks. Make it on out if you can. Rudy, 2 wins in a row. Big win over the Boston Bruins. Could there be something brewing here?
It's possible. I mean, both teams are. I mean, you have the Bruins under at 1.5. This is kind of a money in your pocket deal. I probably wouldn't spread a whole lot of that love around because the Penguins are plus 1.5. It could be a wash. It could go into overtime. I mean, anything's possible, especially with this Penguins team who has shown the inconsistencies all year long. And I don't foresee that, not being the case anytime soon. But you never know. It depends on if they play team hockey or is it just an individual sport. And we know that this is not golf and this is not singles tennis. So the only way these guys are going to be able to get it done is by playing together early and often, fast break opportunities, being able to get to the opponent's side of the ice and just really just hammer them. I mean, hammer like laying the Thor hammer down. I'm not talking a little tack hammer. I'm talking about a Thor hammer. They can get that hammer in early and often on a Nedeljkovic. It's over. It's over. And I think the Penguins could pull this one out. It's going to be a close one, but if I was a betting man, and I'm not, I would keep my money in my pocket in this game, but look toward the Flyers to maybe change your mind a little bit. We'll have to see where that over-under is as far as that's concerned. But right now, it's a game ahead of us. I really think that the Penguins have an opportunity. Whether or not they'll capitalize on it, that's another question.
And, normally I would look at these 2 goaltenders and I would give Jeremy Swayman the easy advantage here, but he's not having a great year. 18, 9, and 6, 3.07 goals allowed. The fact that both these goaltenders are in the threes is just sad. But an 89.6% versus an 89.1%. Both guys do have shutouts recorded, but 3 of them for Swayman, only 1 there for Alex. It's actually a relatively close goaltending matchup. And I do give Swayman the advantage, but with Alex being at home here, I would say this one's pretty darn 50-50. I'll tell you what, Rudy, there's no line out on this game yet. But I'm going to assume the over-under in this game is at 6 or 6.5. So the question is, do you think this game gets to 7? And the second question is, we know that Boston's going to be favored. Now, we don't know if they're going to be minus 200, minus 140. I don't know. But what I will say, folks, is if you can get the Pittsburgh Penguins at plus 150 or better on the money line, I would try them out here. They've had some rest. They're coming off one of the best wins they've had all year. They're going up against a kind of down and out Jeremy Swayman right now. I like the Penguins on the money line. And Rudy, I have to go with the over if I'm going to say that. 9 goals the other night, 6 goals in the second period. Yeah, give me 7+ here and give me the Penguins to go ahead and pull the upset here. What are you taking? If you had to pick, I know you're not a betting man.
No, if I had to pick, it would be the Penguins. But again, the questions that I have is this: can they pull it off? Can they be consistent enough? Can they get the stops that are needed, especially during power play? They haven't been the best in power play seasonally speaking. So I want to see them prevent power play goals. If they can do that, get fast break opportunities, hammer down. We're talking about shots on goal like it's going out of style at 40, 50, somewhere in that genre throughout the game. Just give me somewhere close to that, because the more you hit, the more likely one will go in. And sometimes that's all it takes is one. So I'm going with the Penguins here tonight.
Boom, guys. Pittsburgh Penguins to get this thing done. And if you're feeling an over-under, I just think it's hard to go with the under. So it's kind of over or nothing here. Do you trust the goalies? Do you not? Talking about 40, 50, 60 shots on net, you got to take the over here. So good luck to everybody. That's everything going down this week in Pittsburgh sports. Keep an eye, guys, on that sports4media.com. I'm going to be dropping that who's the next quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers next week article. Rudy going to have some more Pittsburgh stuff coming out for you. And then pretty soon here, Rudy got a little announcement for y'all, but you guys got to go ahead and stay tuned for next week for that announcement. So with all that said, I'm Riggs Tamburo. You can find me at Riggs Sports Talk there on Instagram and Twitter. Mr. Rudy Reyes at Rude Dog Reyes. We appreciate you guys for tapping in. Follow at Sports Blitz Pitt, and we'll see you guys in the next one.